I sat on the wooden bench in the hallway and watched people walk past with their own problems. Divorce papers. Custody disputes. A man in work boots arguing with a clerk about a fine he couldn't pay. Normal people with normal trouble. I didn't feel like one of them. The doors to the courtroom were closed, and I could see my reflection in the small window. I looked tired. That was fine. Tired was honest. My sister arrived at 9:47. I know because I looked at the clock on purpose. She wore cream silk and heels that clicked against the marble like she owned it. Her lawyer followed carrying a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my car. They walked past me. She didn't turn her head. My parents came 5 minutes later. My father glanced at me and then away. My mother smoothed her skirt and kept walking. The door opened and closed and I was alone again. I waited 5 more minutes. Not because I was supposed to, because I needed to feel sure I could stand up and go in there without my voice shaking. When I finally entered, everyone was already seated. My sister at the plaintiff's table with her lawyer. My parents in the front row behind her. The judge, a woman in her 60s with gray hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. My seat was alone at the respondent's table. No lawyer, no family, just a glass of water someone had left there that I hadn't asked for. The clerk called the case. My sister's lawyer stood and spoke for 3 minutes about ancestral property and legal inheritance and continuous ownership, words that sounded correct and hollow at the same time. He slid a motion forward. The judge picked it up and read. My sister's lawyer said ownership of the castle effective immediately. My parents nodded. Not at me. At the judge. Like they'd rehearsed it. The judge looked at me over her glasses. Do you object? I heard myself say please wait for the last person. My sister exhaled loud enough for everyone to hear. Her lawyer glanced at his watch. My mother shifted in her seat. The judge waited. 30 seconds passed. 45. A minute. My sister whispered something to her lawyer. He shook his head slightly. The door opened. A man in a black suit walked in. Not young, not old. Just a man carrying an envelope. He walked past everyone including me and handed it to the judge. Then he stepped back and stood against the wall. The judge opened the envelope. Pulled out a single page. Read it. Read it again. The room was quiet enough to hear the clock on the wall. The judge looked at me, then at my sister, then at the paper again. She whispered something I wasn't supposed to hear. That can't be possible. My sister's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, what is this? The judge held up one hand without looking at him. She read the paper a third time. Then she looked at me and her voice was different when she spoke. Approach the bench. I walked up. My sister didn't. Just me and the judge and the paper. She showed me the signature at the bottom. My grandmother's name. Dated 11 years ago. Notarized. Legal. The paper said the castle wasn't owned by the family trust. It was owned by a shell company that was owned by another shell company that traced back to one person. My grandmother. And the document transferred everything to me. 3 years before she died. My grandmother had hidden it. Told no one. Left it in a safety deposit box with instructions to deliver it to me on the day someone tried to take it legally. She knew. I looked at my sister. She was still sitting, but her hands were flat on the table now. Not relaxed. The judge returned to her seat. She adjusted her glasses and spoke clearly this time. The motion is denied. The property in question has never belonged to the family trust. It was privately held and legally transferred to the respondent 11 years ago. The court recognizes full ownership. My sister's lawyer opened his mouth and closed it. My mother stood up. That's not possible, we would have known. The judge looked at her. You didn't know. The man in the black suit hadn't moved. I walked back to my table and sat down. The water was still there. I drank some. My sister was staring at me, not angry, confused. That was worse somehow. She was trying to understand how something could exist outside her knowledge. My parents didn't look at me. They looked at each other, then at the floor. The judge signed something, and the clerk stamped it. The sound was final. I stood up, not because I felt victorious, because there was nothing left to sit for. On my way out, I passed my sister's table. She didn't speak. Her lawyer was already on his phone. The man in the black suit held the door for me. In the hallway, he said, "Your grandmother was specific about the timing. She said you'd know when." I didn't know. But I understood something walking out of that building into ordinary sunlight. She had known them better than I did, and she had protected me from the only people I needed protecting from. I drove home. The castle was somewhere else, a place I'd visited as a child, a place I hadn't thought about in years. The keys arrived by courier 3 days later. I put them in a drawer. I haven't decided what to do yet, but I don't have to decide today. That's what ownership feels like. Not power, just time.